Hi, good morning. Yes, I'm doing these videos because I don't know if you're watching this. This is the first video I'm doing. Um, I had about 600 videos on YouTube before, but then I deleted all of them. Uh, it's not like some fucking big deal because none of that stuff really matters. And when I did all that, I was doing all that stuff to like kind of like guide my disciple if I had a disciple or whatever, like as the mind, like it was the last of like my mind's interpretation of what I wanted from like Osho, which is who I'm going to talk about in this video. So those videos didn't really matter. I mean, I put everything I had into those videos. Like there's like it was my soul and passion for a while. It's making those videos, but I decided to start all over again and make some different videos, more accepting of the world as a whole, not going against anyone in particular. It's just I have to make some videos because I remember like how much like I needed at that time. I needed my master, and there was like so much things that I hoped he did. But if he did those things, then it wouldn't be the same master. In the same way, like if you saw those videos that I did, then I wouldn't be the same master, would I? Because I deleted those videos also because I realized that I don't know, like a lot of people are evil. A lot of people, um, general population, just they don't think. Not everyone thinks the same. A lot of people go through the same type of stuff, but they take it differently. So like when people were growing up, uh, they looked at it like something bad happens to you as you develop as a mind and you start to come into the world, and then you get mad at, say, adults, and you get mad at what you don't know because all this stuff is happening around you. So you express yourself, and at that time you have no real awareness of yourself. You're just being yourself. But when you're a kid is the only time you have a chance to look at yourself. But no one tells you to look at yourself when you're a kid. They just let you do what you want to do. So at the time, let's say a parent or an adult did something you didn't like, or your friend did something you didn't like, and then you're in your room and you're expressing your hatred. And when you're a kid, your hatred's real, like it's real passionate hatred. And then eventually, and that passionate hatred is part evil. So at some point in time, people start accepting themselves as evil, and they don't look back from it because they feel special because of it. And it is kind of special. Like let's say the world was silence. There's just silence, and then there is a big bang or whatever, and then the world came. Well, the opposite of silence is noise, and noise is disturbance. No matter what noise or what anything is, like if I go like, it can sound like something, and it could sound like I'm saying something, and that's how people take it, and they think life's a game, which I think is really funny because look, your your life is you go to work and then you go back home. You get a good job, you get a family, you go to work, you have like one cool thing that you do, and then you go back home. That's what life is. Where's the game in that? You know you're gonna die. You don't win the game. Why would you want to play a game that you never win? The whole reason people play games is to win, to try to win, but it's a game that you can't win. The only way that you can win the game is to not try to win the game. It's to try to get out of this so-called game. It's the way to win. Not everyone wants to get out of the game because they appreciate this game. They like this game. They like this world. And I can understand that. I can understand how people can like this world and want to live this world because their soul is not fulfilled yet. So if you ever look at other people and you're always wondering, you're always frustrated about it, don't be, because those people aren't meant in this life to exit life as an enlightened being. Maybe in the next lives, that's their time. So yeah, it's the guy Osho. I'm just going at these people because the way that I predict that I'm gonna be like talking to people, I don't think people are really gonna ask me the questions that I want them to ask me, and I can't ask those questions to myself. So therefore, I'm just gonna right here and right now, I'm gonna answer some questions that I would ask myself. So it's the start of a series where I'm just gonna talk about enlightened masters and stuff. So this is just for the people who care about that type of stuff, which is like, I don't know, 5% of people. Um, so yeah, the guy Osho. But I just want to reiterate, don't care about what the other people is like. There's so many lessons in those 600 videos. You gotta trust me. There is so much lessons in them that you would understand and that you would like. But even God has compassion for the people who you can see from your moral knowing that it's just it's just like it's kind of insolence in a way because you can explain to someone something or have them feel a certain way and get them knowing and believing. But the thing is, the way the mind works is you wake up the next day and it's like it never happened. It's like, so there's no use. There's no use. Just don't bother. Just stick to yourself. Just don't worry about those people. Just let them. Like, don't try to change them. They can't change. It's not their destiny. It's all just expression of life. This world was just made so so God can experience itself. Otherwise, it's just there. Everyone's wondering, what's life? Like, life is just there. Because the closest thing to God is like nature. Nature is just living, and we're apparently above nature. But we're eating like all these deers and stuff, I mean, like cows and like chickens. If you think about it, you've eaten 3 dead animals every day. But how many of you people actually have killed those animals that you eat? There's compassion in those people still, but like the way the world's set up and the way everything's provided for you in this day and age, everything's just killed for you and then you eat it. And the meats that people are eating, before you kill an animal, the animal releases a subtle poison that goes into its body, and then you're eating the poison. So if you ever wonder why you feel really sleepy after you eat meat, you don't need to eat meat. Trust me. I went eating meat, like I went against eating meat, but you can eat meat if you want to, it doesn't matter. Yuji Krishnamurti ate meat, and look at him as a master compared to every other master. Anyway, I'm trying to speak about Osho. This is my first video, that's why I'm ranting. That's why I'm ranting a little bit. Yeah, the Yuji Krishnamurti guy, you can just the letter U, G, Krishnamurti, KRISHNAMURTI. That guy was a master too, but the guy is friggin' weird and he's just yelling at everyone. It's because he ate meat. He enjoyed it, so like it might be for you, but that's all I gotta say. Okay, the Osho guy. I first saw this Osho guy on this website called destiny.com. You can search destiny.com if you want. I don't know. It's not Destiny, it's Destiny with an I. It's with like this like bald girl, and she's like a dimensional being or something, and it's her forum, and there's a lot of good stuff on there. It's a nice forum, and it was just like at that point in time was a way for me to express and ask questions that no one else would care about. And then I saw they posted this short script of this guy named Osho, and I didn't really care about it. Like, I didn't care about enlightenment and all that stuff. I just wanted to know the truth of the world. Like, I didn't think that enlightenment was the truth, because I thought that it was the furthest thing from possible. But it's possible. It's pretty easy too. So every day I would go to the forest and I would start walking. Every day I would walk in the forest for like 20 minutes, and right beside the forest there was a chapters. And so one day, I don't know, I've never read books up to that point. For some reason I was never able to really read books. because I don't know, I have ADD, and like I guess like I think a lot more. I thought a lot more than normal people because I couldn't read even with like I had like pills for the ADD. So it wasn't really the ADD I found with because I couldn't read something without thinking because I was thinking, and I realized that I couldn't control my thinking. I was never able to read. Like I could read if I wanted to, I could read it 3 times or whatever and then get it, but I couldn't bring myself to focus on anything inside the schools, and that the schools are what I affiliated with books and reading. So I never wanted to read books. And then one day, I don't know why, I went to chapters, and then I was just walking around because I felt like it. And I was in the religious book section, and then there was this book called The Man Who Likes Seagulls by Osho. And it just seems so out of place. Like, why would there be a book about seagulls in a friggin' religious thing? So I opened it. It had nothing to do with seagulls. That was just like the marketing of his company, because he died before like all those mainstream books and stuff were distributed, I think. And his disciples were then in charge of all the distribution and stuff. So like, and that too, like, all these disciples of Osho are always like hating on international or whatever it's called, but those guys too obviously have love for that guy, even if it's not the same love and the same way, but they still got love and they still got a way to express it. Even if they have evil, so does everyone else. Even me too. I'm not fully enlightened yet. I just wished that Osho guy would at that time had made videos when he was young, like I'm young now. But so yeah, I was walking inside the chapter, and then I saw that book, and then I picked it up, opened it, because I remember the name Osho from the website Destiny, so that's the reason I picked it up. Because I was into religion and stuff, so I was trying to see if there might be some books I like. It's like take a chance, and there was. It was fate. So I looked at the book and I started reading it, like the first page, and like surprised me because for the first time I read something that I understood. Like it was the things that I was trying to search for my whole life that I couldn't find. I didn't understand why they didn't teach me that in school. Like the in school I was just contemplating these same questions that this guy answered for me. Like he just every question that I could think of, this guy just answered in a row. And that's what really drew me to him. Like all the things I didn't know, this guy just answered in a row with all these mystical things and stuff. And like all this stuff that at that time I couldn't contemplate about it. Like I couldn't understand it because I couldn't think about it. Because the mind's pretty limited. I couldn't think about it. Like I didn't know. Like I really didn't know, and I couldn't find the answers with just my mind. I was trying to think about it. I couldn't find it. And I never considered like looking at books for it because I just don't like books, or I didn't like books. And then so I was reading his book, and then I found he was answering all the questions that I could ever think of. and everything that he was answering and showing me everything I wanted to know, the things that I had a feeling of. I had a feeling of like this and a feeling of that, but I couldn't put it into words. He put it into words for me. So after that, I considered and I saw that, yeah, it has some meaning in it, and there is a point to what this guy's making. There is relevance to what he's saying in what I can understand. Like, not everyone can understand it, so it's just not their time to understand it. And even if they understand it, they don't want to have anything to do with it, because they're still trapped in the world of physical things, and they still want to experience and with physical things, and that's their destiny. That's for them. That's what they're meant to do. So I read that book in the chapters that the one day. So I read about half or a third of it just on the spot, and until that point I never read books. I never read one book. I couldn't read. Like, in the textbooks in school, I would read like 4 sentences and I'll realize I don't even know what I just read. Or I'll read a whole paragraph and I'll be like, I don't know what I just read. And I'd have to read it again to understand it. Because my mind was in the way. Like, I was thinking all the time. And I can't think and read at the same time. And at the same time, I can't stop thinking. I could never stop thinking. Thinking, always. And you can't do two things at once, they say. Most people can't. So anyways, I read that book, 1/3, and then I came back the next day, read another third, and then I came back the next day, read another third. And in those 3 days, I learned more than I've learned in a goddamn however many 10 years of school. Fuck! There's more than, how many years are there in school? 12? Yeah, 12, I think. I learned more in those 3 days than I learned in 12 years. So I picked up all his books. Every single book I could find of his, I bought. And I read them all in about a week. And then there's no more other videos that I could find. I mean, other books that I could find of him in the city. I even went to the library and I read every book about him in the library in the next week. And I'd never read before that. And so in those 2 weeks, it was so torrential for me. And all my questions were answered that I was trying to find. Seemed too good to be true, but it was true. And I still had doubts about that guy at that time, because that's what the mind does. So then I went on YouTube and I started searching all his videos, and when I saw him for the first time, I was like, what the fuck? Because this guy is just really ancient. I've never seen someone so ancient like him. He just walked in the room and he just seemed so ancient. That's the only thing I really thought about him, because I don't like to judge people. I just see what I see. I don't try to see what I can see. I just look and see, and it reveals itself. So yeah, he's really ancient, really serene, really quiet. And I like that. but he wasn't what I thought he was. Like, this guy talks very slowly. I just couldn't bring myself to like that guy at that point. Like like um like like a master. A disciple likes a master. So even though he taught me all that stuff, even though I saw his video, I liked him a lot. Like, I didn't think he was my master, so I didn't think I had a master. But what he said made sense. So I just kept, after my questions were answered, the main point he was making was that the mind, that we're not the mind, we're really the soul, and that the mind, his point is that if you keep looking at the mind with your soul, or if you keep being aware of your mind, that it will slowly fade. So it made sense to me. So and everything else that he said, I could see in the world, and I understood. So I decided to try looking at my mind to see if what he was saying was true. And it was true. I couldn't control my mind at all. As soon as I looked at it, I didn't realize, because I was the mind, and I was just thinking as the mind, as the ego, and as arrogance. So I just kept looking at my mind, and I realized, wow, I'm everything that I hate. I'm everything that I don't like as the mind. Because I couldn't. When you look at your mind, it's like a friggin' avalanche. At that point, it's like the most disturbing thing. If you look at your mind, it's so disturbing. So disturbing. It's like an avalanche. You can't. There's nothing you could do. But he kept saying over and over that if you will keep looking at your mind, it will slowly fade, and you'll be more peaceful, more happy, and you'll start to know the truth. I didn't really think I could get enlightened. I didn't. I didn't. I thought it was the longest shot of history, but I always took the longest shots. I'll give everything a shot. So I just tried looking at my mind from that point. Because what's the harm? What's the harm? What harm can be done with it? Just looking at your mind. It's gonna take a long time for it to fade, because once you look at it once, you know, like, this thing is so strong and powerful. There's nothing I could do. So that's why the general public can be seen as smart in that way, because of course you can't do anything with it. This thing is powerful. This thing, you can't do anything with the mind. Like, they they're wise in a way, because the general public, if they look at their mind, they say, wow, there's no chance that my mind is gonna leave me. And why would I want to leave the mind if I'm the mind? Yeah. So I just kept looking and kept looking and kept looking, because I'm obsessive that way. And yeah, I saw that, yeah, I can't control it. There's nothing really I can do, but if I keep looking at it, it can get a little bit quieter. So after the longest time just looking at it, it faded a little bit. I started to see the world a little bit. And that little bit was enough for me. After that little bit, I just kept going and see what would happen, because I knew that my mind wasn't going to go away. It would still be there even if I keep looking at it. But this Osho guy, everything he said I knew was true. And he was the first book that I read, the first person that I understood, the first person that made sense to me, the first person that I ever respected or listened to. And yeah, I love that guy a lot. But the thing is, even at that time, I looked at this man like he was a mind. It's strange the way the mind works. Is it, if you look at a enlightened person, you would think that guy's thinking, or that how does that guy think about me, or how does that guy think about whatever. The truth is that that guy is just like God, because God is silence and serenity, and expressions through silence and serenity as a mystery and a miracle, as silence and serenity and nothingness expressing itself in other ways than silence. It's a contradiction. That's just how it is. So I kept looking at my mind because of this guy. And my mind got quieter, and I could start to see the world for what it really was. What I realized was my mind was in the way of me seeing the world as it was. I couldn't look at anything and not think about it, and so much of life, of what was there in front of me, is just passing me by because my mind's in the way. I was always looking at my mind. I was as the mind, and the mind in front of yourself blinds you from seeing the world as it really is. So I started to become smarter. I started to see the world as it really was. I started to realize what I was always trying to find. So I just kept with it. And then one day, I don't know, I just decided, let me try meditating. Let me just sit down and go at it full force, try to kill my mind, see what happens. It's duplicit, but the old souls are duplicit in that way, that they can look at their mind. And then the young souls, people who still want to reincarnate and stuff, they are the mind, and they're not going to look at it. There's no way they can look at it. There's no way they can understand it, because they just want to live. They want to live this life. They haven't experienced as much as the older souls. So I tried meditating. It was alright, I guess. Like, nothing special. It was just like the same as when I was just looking at my mind. So at that point I realized I was meditating. I was meditating. Looking at your mind is meditating. That's what meditating is. I thought that meditating was like visualizing something, visualizing waterfalls and stuff inside a rainforest, you know? But the ancient wisdom and the ancient mystic way of meditating is looking at your mind to try and silence it. So that's what I was doing, and I didn't realize it. But like sitting down and closing your eyes in a quiet place, it's twice as effective as just walking around and keep trying to keep close look at your mind. Because when you try to look at your mind, the mind will take over. And for however long, it will be like even an hour. Like you could tell yourself, okay, I'm gonna just try to look at my mind today. Over an hour later, and you'll look at your mind for like a minute, and then an hour later you don't even realize that you forgot that you're trying to look at your mind, and then you gotta look at it again. That's just the way it is. So meditating is putting yourself in a position where you know you're just gonna keep going back and looking and looking and looking. Whereas through your day-to-day working life, you can't just keep looking because you're gonna forget. So that's what meditating is. It's putting yourself in a position where you can keep looking and looking forcibly at first. At first you need force. So that's what that guy showed me, and then I started meditating. I meditated once, and then I meditated twice. So I meditated like probably like 10 times, and then I gave up on it because it didn't really do much for me. But as time went on, I knew it made so much sense to me that I couldn't turn back from it. Not that it engulfed me and brainwashed me and overcame me. It's just from the very beginning, it was the same spark in me that, like, what he was saying made sense. I understood it, and I wanted to know the truth of life. And I realized, and after searching for so much truth, like, and not finding anything, I knew this was true. Because I tried it. I looked at myself and I saw, yeah, there's something here that I can't even control. And even though it is me right now, like 1% of me can look at myself. Look at, like, in it was is the word preposterous? So yeah, and then I moved, and I got really sad. Like, as I got older, the more sadder I got, the more depressed I got, the more arrogant I got. And I was honest, I'm an honest guy. So when I was looking at myself getting real arrogant, like, when you're like 8, it doesn't matter because you're just running around, yeah, 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 yeah. But like, that's super arrogant. But as you get old, you try to act mature like the adults do, and secretly you're still a kid. Secretly you're still evil, and secretly you're still very arrogant. Even more so, more arrogant than when you're a kid. But secretly. So you keep, you keep, you just go on with it. Like, a lot of people like that and they enjoy it because the ego wants to feel good, right? So what? Let them. Uh, so I realized I was getting sadder, depressed, and more arrogant, and I didn't like I I didn't like that I couldn't control it. I didn't like even that was even part of my arrogance, that I didn't like that I couldn't control it. But it's a good arrogance in that way. It's the only good arrogance, really. Is to for enlightenment, to look at yourself like, I'm better than that, you know. So I keep getting sadder, depresser, and then I decided, after searching a lot of other mystics, and I realized they were kind of saying the same thing as this Osho man, and it was a common thread that wasn't introduced to me at an early age because of Western culture. See, I looked at enlightenment like drugs. I looked at enlightenment like hallucinogenics, because that's how it's marketed in the West, or in all these stupid pictures that you see of like all this like fancy like lights around some guy's head. I thought enlight I thought enlightenment was impossible. For one, I thought it was stupid, and I thought it was just like someday you do all this crazy. I didn't even want to look at it because, like, why would I want to be crazy like that? How is it possible that all this crazy stuff gonna happen to me and then I'm gonna die, and like, I didn't really get it at that point. It just wasn't what I thought it was. So when this guy told me what it was, then I realized, yeah, even at an early age, if someone taught me that, I probably would have done it because it was what I was searching for my whole life. So I saw all these other mystics, and I heard about another guy named Osho. He's a disciple of him. He's now called Ozen, but at the time it was called Osho Rajneesh. This guy, I read his story because he was Osho. I was mad at this guy, eh? I was like, you don't know this guy, Osho. You're trying to be Osho. You're not Osho. That guy's Osho. He's a better Osho than you. I didn't know he was a disciple. I read his book, and he's like, he became enlightened in like 90 days or something. So I was like, at some point I was getting so sad and depressed. I decided, yeah, I'll try. Okay, I'll try, whatever. Because I was a virgin at that time too. But that's a different story. I tried. I locked myself in a room. Um, and I just sat and I told myself I'm gonna sit here till it's done. I'm gonna try it. Like, I'm just gonna give it my all. I'm gonna really try to become enlightened because this Osho dude, and it makes sense to me. So if it makes sense to you, that means you should try. Don't waste your time here. Like, if you're on earth and it makes sense to you and you want to leave it, then leave it. It's possible. Don't try to leave it. Leave it. That's what it was with me. Like, I'm not gonna try. I'm gonna go for it fully. So I locked myself in my room at my parents' house upstairs. We moved from the east end of Ottawa. We moved to the west end of Ottawa in a secluded country kind of place. So it was quiet, nice nature around. So I decided I'm going to try. I didn't have a job at the time. So I locked myself in the room, got this reclining chair, and I tried. And for like 7 months, every day I tried to do at least like 7 hours. I tried. And I was transforming. Through that experience, I was really transforming. And some mystical stuff started happening. I didn't think that stuff would happen. Like, I didn't think those things were possible. I was very rational. I didn't think anything like that would ever happen. So all this mystical stuff started happening as well. But all I was trying to do was really meditate and to quiet my mind to silence. And then at some points in this experience, trying to become enlightened like a monk kind of, I realized sometimes my mind went completely still. And when it went completely still, that's when I realized that I am something different than the mind. Because if the mind's gone and I'm still there, then that must be me. Because if I don't need the mind to be me, then that silence and that looking must be me. Okay, I'm gonna do another video. This is part 1 about Osho. Talks on Osho.